So previously we said you can do complex queries like this, and Entity Framework is able to map these complex queries here where we are using, for example, in a join against another table. And this table over here is actually not a model in our Entity Framework application. So you can see we only have a student and a teacher model over here, but we don't have any other DB set other than these two. So by using the row SQL and by us pulling the data just from the students table over here is able to match every single value from that table over to our class object. But if we now start to use this table over here, SS, which is student subject. So if I just add SS over here, and now we're pulling the item from this table rather than the student table for which there is a C# object. If we run this, you'll see that we'll get an error message. And if we have a look at the error message, the required column ID was not present in the from SQL operation. This happens is because, as you can see here, we are using the context of students. So what it's trying to do is trying to map the values to the students DB set, which is based on a student class, and the student class has the following fields that it expects: ID, name, age, city, and is active. And notice that these fields are mandatory because they do not have the question mark to enable null values. So when we got this error, it's basically telling you that ID was not present. The reason the ID was not present is because this table over here, SS, which is student subject, and if we have a look at the student subject table in the database over here, you can see it doesn't have an ID column, but the ID column is a required field in our student class over here because again it doesn't allow for null. But one interesting thing that you will find is if you now do select star over here rather than from S star, so it's not putting the field only from this table, but it's putting field from this table too, what you should find is that our code works. So if we run this again, so if we select all the columns from both tables, you will see that our code does work. So you can see we got an output of John over here. And the reason this works is because in this table, we have the additional column student ID, subject ID, active, which do not have the same names as the columns within this students table over here. So the column names are different. So when Entity Framework tries to map against the students DB set or the student class, what it finds is it finds all the relevant fields are available because we have done a select star. So it finds the ID, the name, the age, and city, and is active and is able to map them. So this is important to understand that although select star works, but you may get naming conflicts, but you cannot get the fields from another table over here because those are required fields over here by the students class. And we'll continue discussion on this and continue to expand our knowledge around why and how can we get around getting a custom object from row SQL and still use Entity Framework to map it